I forgot to turn the mic on. It might take a little minute to warm up. Hey guys, what's up? I just made the most incredible concoction. It didn't come out exactly the way I wanted to. It's been a long time since I've cooked with eggs, besides like mixing them into cake batter. But I messed up. It's more scrambled eggs than an omelet. Oh my god. No, not the repeating. Oh my god. No, not the repeating. Did I think I fixed it. I fixed it. Cool. So let me make sure all these tabs are muted. Alright. Well, looks like we're good. Uh it's more scrambled eggs than an omelet. I didn't get the pan hot enough. I had too many eggs in the pan, and in general, it was just kind of rough. But we have a chocolate chip omelet here. It's actually amazing. I wasn't sure how good it was gonna be, but I had eggs that were about to go bad and probably should have gone bad like a week ago, but I tested them. I smelled them all before I made them. I'm gonna upload the video to YouTube of me making this attempt at an omelet, and it actually came out really good. I could have put more salt and butter in it to give it a little more flavor, but overall it's absolutely delicious. I did not expect this to turn out so good, and I'm absolutely loving it. We are going to continue eating it while we watch videos, and yeah, I need to see the new Phil DeFranco video. He's probably about to drop another one, so maybe we watch 2 Phil DeFranco videos. I don't think this is gonna fill me up. I'm really hungry. I might go make some hot dogs afterwards, but the important thing is we've got a chocolate chip omelet to eat, which was absolutely amazing. I could have put a little more vanilla in it too. I put a little drop of vanilla extract, but I can't really taste it. The problem with vanilla extract is you don't want to put too much, otherwise it just tastes like chemicals. But I absolutely love some vanilla. Let's watch this new Phil DeFranco video and eat chocolate chip omelet. It's chocolate chip and Nutella omelet. I like read about this. Apparently it's like a thing in some parts of the world to make sweet omelets. Here in the US, we mostly have savory omelets like steak, sausage, green peppers, onions, all that kind of stuff. But I didn't have that, and all those things are expensive. So what I did have is chocolate chips that my mom gave me and leftover Nutella that I don't eat, that I don't have anything to eat with, because normally I use like saltines and put Nutella on the saltines, but I'm out of saltines. So I had this much Nutella. I had this bag of mini chocolate chips that I had no idea what to do with, and I had these eggs that I needed to use before they went bad. I thought about just doing scrambled eggs and throwing some cheese and ketchup and salt and pepper in there, but I was like, you know what? Let's try and make a sweet omelet, and I'm so glad I did this. I wish my omelet making skills were better, but considering I probably haven't made an omelet since like 5th grade or something like that, I'm happy with how it turned out, and that I just messed up the omelet making and folding part. I didn't actually mess up the eggs themselves. They're not overcooked or undercooked or anything, so that's good. So we just have this delicious mess of chocolate chips and Nutella and egg, and I love it. I was uncertain about how I'd feel about it, but I really like it. It's just a little bland, so it could have used a little more salt, butter, and vanilla, I think. Maybe throw something else in there to give it some flavor. I'm not sure what else I would do, but if I ever have eggs again, that's a big if, considering how expensive that shit is these days, I want to make another omelet and see if I can improve it. But let's watch the video. I gotta eat this before it gets cold, because cold eggs are terrible.
A white mom who appears to have called a black 5-year-old the N-word in a
Oh,
viral
this
video
has been a huge thing.
$666,000 to relocate.
I didn't know it was up
I
to
don't
that.
know,
Last
and
I
asked
saw
about
it,
the
it was like
process, and maybe he has to
500,000.
uphold the Constitution as president, and that was only one of the things that we have to talk about. Israel now officially plans to reoccupy all of Gaza and hold it indefinitely if no deals reached by May 15th. A bombing attack targeting Lady Gaga's record-breaking concert was luckily stopped. Or the Dr. Lupo cheating scandals, creators now calling for his ban. And then a good news story to help keep
Why
you
are
sane.
people
We're talking about
bombing
all that
Lady
and much more in
Gaga?
today's
What the
brand
fuck
new
is
So
wrong with the
Franco
world?
Show. You daily dive into the news, how it's being covered, and how people are reacting to it, starting with this. We should talk about Shiloh Hendricks. And she's in the news because she's the white Minnesota mom that appears to have hurled racial slurs at a 5-year-old black boy at a playground in Rochester, Minnesota. With that happening after the child allegedly stole her own child's
Dude, this
diaper
is
bag,
so good.
according to her, though I will say that's been disputed. And the reason that we know about this situation is because 30-year-old Sharmake Omar, who told NBC that he knows the boy's parents, that him and the kid have Somali heritage, and that the boy has autism, was there at the playground. And I'm gonna link to the full video so you can judge for yourself, but walking through it, you see Omar confronting Hendricks, and she tells him it's none of your fucking business, with her sticking her tongue out and giving him the middle finger. She then also calls him the
So, full context, because I don't know if he's gonna say this, because Phil DeFranco, as much as I love him, he's pretty left-leaning, and the left likes to leave out what I believe to be important details. Apparently, the guy filming the video was a convicted pedophile. So why the hell is he even filming videos at a kid's playground to begin with? Now, I'm not excusing anything that happened. But I'm just saying, why is this guy even filming videos at a kid's playground to begin with?
N-word as well.
Okay, why don't you have the balls to say it right now again?
With him then going back and forth
yeah.
for a bit, and Hendricks appearing
She
to
definitely
admit that
said
he
it.
called the little boy the slur and justified it.
That little kid, you call him a the little child?
What if he acts like one? He's gonna.
Are you about to hit him? You chase him here?
He took my son's stuff.
So that gives you the right to call the child, 5-year-old, and the N-word.
If that's what he's gonna act.
That's
like.
what you're gonna call him.
That's what he's gonna act like.
With Omar then also telling NBC that Hendricks said that he and his wife shouldn't have more children because they're a drain on the welfare system. And so this whole situation, the video gets a lot of attention. You see the reactions that you often expect. But then we see something else happen. Hendricks starts a fundraiser on Give, Send, Go titled...
So that's interesting. It makes me wonder if he was there with his wife, and that's why he was there and had his camera out, because they mentioned he and his wife. But who knows? It could be misinformation about the other thing. About him being a pedophile. That's just what I heard. It's okay. Let's go to Grok. Grok always gives us the answers. I'm glad that it didn't show my whole number. Thank you. I haven't seen that before. Was the guy who filmed Shiloh Hendricks? I'm not exactly sure how you spell this. I'm just guessing. Convicted. We'll just put criminal. I can't even spell regular words, apparently. Let's see. The man who filmed Shiloh Hendricks is identified as Sharmake Omar. There are claims on social media and in some reports that Omar has a criminal history, specifically mentioning 2022 charges for sexual conduct involving a 16-year-old, as well as a 2020 disorderly conduct conviction. However, according to court records and news reports, the sexual conduct charges were dismissed in the interest of justice. There is no public evidence confirming conviction for these charges. The 2020 disorderly conduct conviction is mentioned in some posts, but details are limited and not independently verified in the provided sources. Therefore, there are allegations and a confirmed disorderly conduct conviction. There is no conclusive evidence that Omar is a convicted criminal in the context of the more serious charges often cited. The focus on criminal history appears to be amplified by unverified social media claims. So, yes and no, basically. So, yes, he's convicted of disorderly conduct, but that's like hit or miss. It's not that hard to get disorderly conduct. You know, it could have been like a bar fight or something. Who knows what happens? I've known people that were decent people that got similar charges. The sexual conduct involving a minor, though, that's definitely questionable. Now, it does say the charges were dismissed in the interest of justice. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but the fact that they even got to the point of bringing those charges in the first place is interesting. So he wasn't convicted, but usually there's something that happened if you got to go to court for that, unless it's a case of mistaken identity or somebody lied. So maybe that's what happened. Maybe somebody lied, but regardless, the guy has a criminal history, and if he didn't have the other conviction, it would be less questionable about the other charges. But people tend to be repeat offenders, especially sex offenders. So who knows? We don't have details on that other case, but my point here is I think everyone in this situation was probably a terrible person, and it just seems like a bunch of terrible people going off on each other. We just arrived at my base. I am loading. I got to do some starfighter things real quick. Cargo. We are dropping off some starfighters in this base here. Hopefully I can fit both of them right now. Cool. But we also need to pick one up because it took damage fighting bandits. So we gotta go. Oh, no, go back. I don't need my two NPCs with me. They can't board the fighter with me. Alright. So we're going to go to the entrance real quick. My stomach is rumbling. Do you ever like not be very hungry, but then you make some food and you start eating it, or you just eat a small snack and then all of a sudden, the moment you eat it, you're just famished? That's how I'm right now. So I haven't renamed these rooms. I was confused for a second. Normally I rename the rooms from the basic names. We can do that another time, because I'm going to have to bring this fighter back at some point. Ah, shit. I don't know which one's the damaged one. I can look at the combat report. Let's see. I didn't even notice I got shot by that, to be honest. Oh yeah, I did. I remember seeing that now. Which one is this? This is number 6. Took hull damage. If you see, none of the other ones took hull damage. Their shields held up, but number 6 took some hull damage. So we're gonna board 6, and we're gonna take that back for repairs. We have a repair station, and we could actually. Oh, it's rearming. I guess we can't do that yet because it's still restocking after being deployed. So we'll do that some other time. But we didn't really waste time because we needed to fly through this area anyways. I guess we wasted the 1 or 2 minutes we've spent here boarding the station, and we could have just kept charging on through. But I should have paid attention to the fact it was rearming. I think it takes 2 hours to rearm. So we're after these guys, I think. Yeah, we want that GS 100. So It might actually be faster. Yeah, it's gonna be faster to hyperspace jump and then meet it at the other side. So let's do this. We're going to go minus 1 on the X so that we'll jump to 1 square beside it. And then we're gonna jump back. And let's see, this is 0, 10. And then we'll land back in the asteroid field. And we should be way closer to those guys. What's up, Snow Ninja? I'm having an amazing day. Have you ever had a sweet omelet before? I failed at making the omelet part. It's closer to scrambled eggs. I haven't made an omelet probably since I was in like middle school, maybe high school. And I didn't do too well at folding it over. I had too many eggs. It was a little too thick. I should have had a bigger pan. But I wanted to use my eggs before they went bad because it said they went bad like a week ago. But I opened them up and they were fine. I got lucky. But I didn't have traditional omelet things. Me neither. I had to Google it to see if it's even possible. I didn't have traditional omelet things like peppers and onions and sausage and any of that. So I made an omelet with Nutella and chocolate chips, and it's absolutely amazing. It's one of the best omelets I've ever had. I could have, it needs a little more salt, and I put some vanilla in it, but I could have put more vanilla and butter. It's a little bland overall, minus the chocolate stuff, the chocolate chips and Nutella. But despite that, it's really good. I want to try this again and see if I can get the Nutella, see if I can get the seasoning right on it. You know, the eggs themselves could use a little more flavor, but the Nutella chocolate goes so well with the eggs. I was really uncertain about this, but I was like looking at what I have, and all I have really is like a bunch of mini chocolate chips that my mom gave me that I had no idea what I was going to use them for. I probably could have put more chocolate chips in, to be honest. I barely used a little bit of the bag, but I ended up using them. I was like, I Google search, can you put chocolate chips in an omelet? Apparently it's a thing in more eastern parts of the world, and sweet omelets are more common over there. Here in America, we do the savory omelets. But I'm really glad I tried this because it's absolutely delicious. Wait, yes, there's a sushi with egg called taibako that's a sweet omelet. That's pretty cool. Tabiko. We're watching the news, and first things first, they're talking about the whole N-word in the playground issue.
Help me protect my family. Which, for some context here, a Give Send Go is often labeled the Christian crowdfunding service, but it's primarily known because it's the place that raised money for Kyle Rittenhouse, Daniel Penny, and Luigi Mangione. And on Hendrix's campaign page, she wrote, "I've been put in a very dire situation. I recently had a kid steal from my 18-month-old son's diaper bag at a park. I called the kid out for what he was." With her then adding, "Another man, who we believe is Omar, who we recently found out has a history with law enforcement, proceeded to record me and follow me to my car. He then posted these videos online, which has caused my family and myself great turmoil. My social security number has been leaked, my address and phone number have been given out freely, my family members are being attacked, my eldest child may not be going back to school, even where I exercise has been exposed. With her closing, I am asking for your help to assist."
So I don't care who they are or what they did. Doxing people like this is terrible because it doesn't make them change their behavior. It only ever makes them double down. And we're seeing an exact demonstration of that right now. And not only that, we're seeing backlash against something else, and I wonder if he's going to talk about it or if he's going to glaze over
my
it.
family. I fear that we must relocate. I have 2 small children who do not deserve this. We have been threatened to the extreme by people online. Anything will help. We cannot and will not live in fear. And while she initially set the goal for $50,000, the donations just flooded in and just surpassed that so fast. And in fact, as I'm recording this, she just passed $666,000. Now, as far as those donations, if you end up going to the page, you might notice that there really aren't comments attached to each donation. donation. And that, as it turns out, is because many of those comments were just filled to the brim with racism. And so Give Send Go actually disabled the comments, with its founder and CEO telling the Washington Post the team did so due to the volume of inappropriate remarks that violated our policies. So even with the comments disabled, some people are still getting their message across with suggestive usernames, or with stuff like "Time to Fight Back," "Rise Up," and "Enough Already," as well as 1488, which is code for Heil Hitler, and "Your Austrian Painter," another apparent Hitler reference. And it's in addition to "Day of Rope," "White Unity Will Unite," and people trying to spell out the N-word with their donations. And so in response to everything that we were seeing, you had Give Send Go saying to the Post, "We understand the sensitivity of this situation and the strong emotions it has evoked. Give Send Go does not endorse or condone the personal views or actions of individual campaign organizers or their supporters, nor do we control the motivations of donors." Also, regarding this fundraising campaign, we saw Hendricks herself responding with an update to the fundraiser, writing that the support that they've received is unbelievable, saying, "I've never felt so scared yet reassured in my life. It's truly a whirlwind of emotions." Then saying she hasn't been harmed, but adding, "I'm still very frightened and I don't think I'll feel safe until we can escape completely." And finishing by saying, "It's such a strange feeling to be living in a blissful dream and a nightmare simultaneously. Thank you for all your continuous support and love. We have to keep fighting for the safety of all our families, not just mine." Now with that, we've also seen a big response on the other end. So for example, you have the Rochester chapter of the NAACP starting.
Is he gonna glaze over all of it?
5-year-old boy. With that,
Damn it, Phil, I'm gonna lose so much
$150,000
respect for
past
you
that
if you
goal.
glaze over the reason why it's so
$340,000,
big.
Then the page actually being shut down at the request of the family. With seeing the NAACP writing, "Your compassion, your solidarity, and your belief in love over hate have been overwhelming and deeply moving." Also, I'll say, that's not where this ends, because we have to go back to Omar, for example, the guy who took the video, because he's chimed back in to say that he's received a torrent of harassment since the incident. Right, in that, because not only did he take the video, you had Hendricks alluding to his history with law enforcement, which includes a sexual assault charge from 2022 that was actually recently dropped. And so you had Omar telling KIMT News that he's been getting death threats, his information's been posted online, and he's concerned for his and his children's safety. Additionally, it looks like
Well, maybe you shouldn't have started it in the first place, dumbass. If you go out and dox someone and ruin their life, don't be surprised when it fucking happens to you. I am so sick of this goddamn hypocrisy and double standards. What part of treat others the way you want to be treated didn't you understand? If you treat other people like shit, other people are going to treat you like shit.
there may be legal problems for Hendricks in the near future. Right, and that, in part because the city of Rochester posted a statement on Facebook.
He hasn't even talked about the most important part yet.
Rochester Police Department is gathering information and actively looking into the matter. And this is due to the NAACP calling on the police, the city attorney, and the county attorney to investigate and charge Hendricks with a hate crime. And with that, you had Omar telling NBC that the 5-year-old boy's parents have expressed support for prosecuting her if possible. So likely there's much more to come, much more to see play out. And in the meantime, I gotta pass the question off to you. What are your thoughts here? Not only around the incident, but around the fundraising after. But then, next up in the news today, Israel...
He glazed over the most important part. I've just lost so much respect for Phil because he tries to make the news not political. But this is the most political I've ever seen him be, besides all the anti-gun shit he talks. He didn't even talk about why this fundraiser is blowing up, and he didn't even mention what most of the comments said before they started stopping the comments, was that this was in response to the Carmelo Anthony fundraiser, which happened on the same platform. If you're not aware of what happened with the Carmelo Anthony case, this was a young black dude who stabbed and arguably murdered a young white guy at a track meet or some type of sports meet, and basically his parents made this GoFundMe for the same website, Give Send Go or whatever it's called, the exact same website. They made this Give Send Go, I think that's what it's called, for him, where they called him Carmelo the Hero, because apparently like stabbing some white dude in the chest over an argument during the rain makes you a hero. And a whole bunch of black people started donating to this campaign to help this guy with his legal costs, even though he probably deserves to be locked in jail for a very long time, if not the rest of his life. And they made it this whole black versus white thing. So then in response to that, when this Shiloh give send go happening, a lot of people were saying justice for Metcalf or whatever his name was. Justice for the white guy that was stabbed. So he didn't even talk about the most important thing, which is that most of the money sent was in response to the already racist fundraiser that was happening on the other side on the same platform. So I have lost so much respect for Phil because he's not giving unbiased news reporting. This is absolute bullshit. He just tried to make it seem like it was a racist thing. And while there absolutely is some racist stuff going on, no denying that, he didn't even point out the most important thing is that it's not necessarily racism, but rather a response to racism on the other side. If the Carmelo Anthony give, send, go didn't happen, I bet that this one gets no attention whatsoever itself. Maybe a little bit, but there's no way it gets over the 500,000 because that was the thing. So the Carmelo Anthony give, send, go raised like 500,000. So it became a racist race basically to see which race could raise more money for their fucked up evil person. And the fact that people are giving so much money to two fucked up evil people, one going around slinging racial slurs, the other who's just going around stabbing people for no reason. It's just absolutely insane. This is the fucked up world we live in.
Israel now reportedly plans to take full control of Gaza, not just the parts that it's occupied since October 7th, but rather the entire Gaza Strip with no clear end date for how long they'll stay. Now with that, I'll say in some ways, this is what many expected would happen once the war started, especially since Israel already controls around 50% of the territory and refused to go forward with a ceasefire deal.
I need to
that
make
they
this
had made.
again.
But the same reports today that the plan was agreed to in an early morning cabinet vote after it was revealed that the military was calling upon reservists for another Gaza operation. Now with that, a de facto occupation of the entire Gaza Strip, that's already a huge escalation of the conflict, but there's more. The plan will reportedly also have hundreds of thousands of Gazans moved to the southern part of the territory, meaning that they'll likely be displaced from their homes in other parts. You know how Gaza was already described as a densely packed area? Well, this is obviously going to make it worse. And unfortunately, this entire scheme, it has precedent. Gaza used to be under Israeli occupation for decades until 2005, and after that, it was essentially blockaded by Israel and Egypt, leading to its current situation. As far as timing, there are some questions about when this plan will actually begin, with one defense official telling the Associated Press that they don't expect the plan to actually begin until Trump visits later this month. Also, as far as other details, there are a lot of questions. Obviously, part of the plan is for the final extermination of groups like Hamas and to get the remaining hostages out of there. But after that, there's the question of, what the hell is actually supposed to happen once they take over Gaza? Does Israel plan to completely take over and be the admin for everything directly? Or is it seriously going to consider Trump's plan for the U.S. to take over in some capacity? Which I will say on that last part, it seems that they're at least considering U.S. involvement of some kind. Because yesterday we saw the cabinet approving plans for Israel to completely take over the aid distribution within Gaza, all of which will be protected by American security contractors, which you have people saying in some ways is better than the current state of affairs since Israel blocks off essentially all aid into Gaza. But there you have critics claiming that it'll give Israel far too much control over how the aid is distributed.
Yeah, I don't think that's a good idea.
Back against claiming that when aid was within Gaza, it was a tool used by Hamas to control people. But either way, the plan will probably be rejected by the UN, only for Israel to ignore them anyways. And then as far as the news in the region, that's just what's happening with Gaza. You had Tel Aviv making front page news after Israel's main airport was targeted by missiles, with that attack reportedly launched by the Houthis out in Yemen, with a spokesperson.
I'm glad he at least reported on this instead of glazing over like he did with the most important parts of the other story.
Armed forces announced it will work to impose a comprehensive air blockade on the Israeli enemy, with them then going on to say that this would involve repeatedly targeting Israeli airports, although so far there's only been one strike since the announcement was made. But of course, keep in mind, this is a rapidly developing situation. And then I've got more news you need to know about in just a minute, but first, I get compliments about my stylish Vessi sneakers all the time. And yeah, my Vessis do look great.
Fuck your
Easy to agree.
sneakers,
But then
Phil.
also, Franco, go check them out. But then, next up in the news, Donald Trump, the president of the United States, in case you forgot, he does not know if he has to uphold the Constitution. And that is actually just one of the things that he's said or shared over the past few days that's got people, let's say, talking. Things including more threats to invade another country, offensive AI imagery, a new tariff announcement, and a promise to reopen the country's most notorious prison. Let's, start with the Constitution of it all, with Trump's comments coming during an interview with NBC's Kristen Welker on Meet the Press. Right in there, at one point, she asked Trump about the Supreme Court's order to facilitate the return of Kilmar Abrego Garcia from El Salvador, which the Trump administration has said is out of its control, and also claiming it would be complying with the order by simply allowing the man back if he somehow made it here. But then, last week, you had Trump saying in an interview with ABC News that he could bring Abrego Garcia back if he wanted, but he chooses not to, seemingly admitting defiance to the Supreme Court. And to that, Trump's other comments, the whole
That
Abrego
was so
Garcia
good.
case, and really so many of the administration's other actions on immigration, including deportations to El Salvador under the Alien Enemies Act, they've all raised serious questions about the White House's respect for due process, rule of law, and by extension, the Constitution. And so Welker basically asked him point blank if he'd stand up for those basic principles, and he could not say yes.
Your Secretary of State says everyone who's here, citizens and non-citizens, deserve due process. Do you agree, Mr. President?
I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know.
Well, the Fifth Amendment says
I don't know.
as
It might say that, but if you're talking about that, then we'd have to have 1 million or 2 million or 3 million trials. We have thousands
do the
of
work.
people that are some murderers and some drug dealers and some of the worst people on earth.
But
some of the worst, most dangerous people on earth. And I was elected to get them the hell out of here, and the courts are holding me from doing it.
Then do the work.
Even given
Stop
those
complaining
numbers
and
that
do
you're
the
talking
fucking
about,
work.
Don't you need to uphold the Constitution of the United States as
I
president?
don't know. I have to respond by saying again, I have brilliant lawyers that work for me, and they are going to obviously follow what the Supreme Court said. What you said is not what I heard the Supreme Court said. They have a different interpretation.
Also, here you had Welker asking about something else that would violate the Constitution, but has been supported by Trump's supporters, a third term.
Are you seriously considering a third term, Mr.
No, I
President,
think-
even though it's prohibited by the Constitution? Or is this about staying politically viable?
I will say this. So many people want me to do it. I have never had requests so strong.
I think that would
as
be a mistake on his part.
It's something that to the
I've
best of my
crafted a
knowledge-
fucked up thing. I call it the Eastern European Thunderbolt. I crafted a fucked up thing today too. Tell me about your Eastern European Thunderbolt. I made a omelet with vanilla extract, chocolate chips, and Nutella in it, and it was absolutely delicious. I just finished eating it, Ghost of Death. I'm still hungry though, so after we finish listening to Trump lie a little bit, we're going to probably go make some hot dogs. What is your Eastern European Thunderbolt? I'm interested.
You're not allowed to do. I don't know if that's constitutional that they're not allowing you to do. Or
PVC
anything else,
pipe,
but there are many
copper
people
wiring,
selling
and
the
4 car
2028
batteries.
pad.
What is it, like a sound cannon or something, or like a potato gun on steroids?
But this is not something I'm looking to do.
The
I'm looking
taser.
at
Oh,
4
there you
great
go.
Years and turn it over to somebody.
So notably, here and
Yeah.
now at least, you have Trump.
That
projecting
sounds
the idea of
pretty
running again
intense.
more clearly than he has at times in the past. But he also didn't seem to know, or at least didn't want to acknowledge what the Constitution says on that subject. We then also, in this interview, had Welker asking about Trump's past comments on taking over Canada and Greenland, and to that, Trump mostly, but not entirely, ruled out military action against Canada, though he
Which I
definitely
think
did
is
not rule
insane.
out using military force against Greenland.
Would
Which
you
I
rule
think
out
is even
military
more
forces to
insane.
Canada?
Well, I think we're not going to ever get to that point. It could happen. Something.
It will
could
do
happen
more than
with
tase
Greenland,
someone,
I'll be
though,
honest. We
I'm
need that
sure.
for, national and international security.
If you're doing car batteries, it might just straight up kill them. Because the thing about tasers, so there's 2 things about tasers. One is that there are 2 types of current. One is like amplitude, and the other one is it's been a long time since I did any electrical engineering. What are the measurements for electricity? Volts and amps and watts are like the main things. Ohms is resistance. That's not really important as far as I'm familiar with. Kilowatt hours is basically how much you use over time. So the big ones are volts and amps, and one of them will kill you, the other one won't. I think it's volts that won't kill you, amps that will kill you. Don't quote me on that. I'm not 100%. But the other thing, too, with tasers, they're designed to pulse an exact amount of time because a lot of research showed that it takes a certain amount of time for electrocution for it to cause an arrhythmia or stop your heart. So tasers are specifically designed to only pulse for less than that amount of time. So if you just straight up hit someone with a car battery, you're probably going to dump a whole bunch of everything into them, not just volts or amps. And it's also going to be straight jacked into it, no pulsing there, unless you attach it to some kind of microcontroller or something. I have signs put up to clearly state that if you want to come into my property and decide to fuck around with my house, I will provide the find out part. Just not might end too well for you. Very true. And that's definitely a good warning. But at the same time, it might not end too well for you either in the court of law. I don't know what your local laws are like, but there's often significant issues with any type of self-defense in certain areas, especially when it comes to improvised weaponry, especially if it's like rigged to go off on its own. Or I don't know if you have that, but it's one of those things where, at least here in the US, if you're gonna shoot someone, might as well just go for the kill, because legally there's no distinction between shooting them in the chest and shooting them in the arm, or trying to shoot them in the leg. And honestly, if you shoot them in the leg, there's a pretty good chance you're just going to kill them anyways because of the blood vessels in there. Shooting them in the arm is really hard. That's something that people only really ever do in movies. You aim center mass, because legally, if you pull the trigger, it's lethal force regardless. Why does he have 4 holes in his back? Self-defense with 4 car batteries? Exactly. Yeah, it could be it could be legally questionable. But that being said, you can't fight in court if you're dead, you know? So always look after yourself and your family first. Take care of your loved ones, and then fight the legal fight afterwards. Let's finish listening to
Security.
how long is this one?
I don't see it with Canada. I just don't see it. I
Oh
have
my
to be
God.
honest with you.
Now, moving past that interview, which I'll link to, you can watch the full thing. Trump and the White House, as usual, were busy on social media this weekend, with, among other things, Trump posting this AI-generated image and the White House later sharing it of him as the Pope. But this
Okay.
notably, as the actual Pope just died a few weeks
Yeah,
ago.
that's
and
kind
the
of in
church is
poor
getting ready
taste.
to begin the process of picking a new one. So as you might imagine, a lot of people, especially a number of Catholics, found this in pretty poor taste. With, for example, the New York State
I
Catholic
did say it was
saying,
poor
"There's
taste,
nothing
didn't I?"
clever or funny about this image, Mr. President. We just buried our beloved Pope Francis, and the cardinals are about to enter a solemn conclave to elect a new successor of St. Peter. Do not mock us." So that was not the only AI-generated image that the White House posted that pissed it off a seemingly devout community, but it was a much different one. Star Wars fans. Right now, because they shared a May the 4th be with you post slamming, quote, "radical left lunatics fighting to bring Sith lords, murderers, drug lords, dangerous prisoners, and well-known MS-13 gang members back into our galaxy," and adding, "You're not the rebellion, you're the empire." So this is, among other things, commenters were quick to point out that Trump's holding a red lightsaber,
Yeah.
which is usually the kind used by the bad guys.
That was
And
the
as
first
you'd
thing
know,
I
arguing
thought.
that if anyone was the empire, it would be Trump and Republicans right now. Right, noting that they
Yep.
essentially have all the power right now, and they've just been issuing crackdown after threat after crackdown after threat. Also, on the note of movies, they've right now arguing that Trump's adding, "You're not the rebellion, you're the
Wait, was that one better? Can I not do that anymore? Okay, I was just missing. What the shit? Okay. We'll just do it this way. How do I can't view image? Alright. There we go. Versus, oh, I can't drag it. It's gonna go to the other screen. That's fine. That worked fine. Notice any similarities? That's the evil guy. Arguably one of the most evil guys ever in the Star Wars universe.
The Empire. So this is among other things. Commenters were quick to point out that Trump's holding a red lightsaber.
If I pull the trigger, I ain't stopping until the danger goes down or gun goes click. Exactly.
The Empire would be Trump and Republicans right now. Right, noting that they essentially have all the power right now, and they've just been.
And if the gun goes click before the danger goes down, there's gonna be 3 quick clicks before there's a bunch more bangs. You know?
Issuing crackdown after threat after crackdown after threat. Also, on the note of movies, if some of the Star Wars movies were coming out today, because of Trump, there's a chance that George Lucas would have to pay tariffs on them. Right, and that is connected to our next piece of news, which is that Trump says that he's putting a 100% tariff on movies made outside of the US. You know, the Star Wars movies, they were filmed in locations all over the world.
That's
also,
insane!
If you're wondering what a tariff on a movie would actually look like, you're not alone. Because we know the
so many movies are filmed all over the world.
Everything and everyone with them. But movies, they're not loaded onto pallets and shipped into the country, at least not since DVDs. And with that, all that Trump has actually done so far is authorize the Commerce Department and the US Trade Rep.
Okay, I was gonna think of, oh, you know what's one of my favorite movies is? Where was Tropic Thunder filmed? Oh, damn it. It was filmed in Hawaii. Well, that sucks. Because that's technically the US. So, Game of Thrones isn't a movie, but I know that was filmed in all kinds of crazy places. Northern Ireland, Croatia, Iceland, Spain, and Malta. I wonder if he's going to extend that to TV shows. It wouldn't surprise me.
To, quote, immediately begin the process of instituting a 100% tariff on any and all movies coming into our country that are produced in foreign lands. But I'm claiming that the movie industry in America is dying a very fast death because other countries have incentivized filmmakers and studios to move productions away from the US, and adding, this is a concerted effort by other nations and therefore a national security threat. It is, in addition to everything else, messaging and propaganda. Notably,
or maybe they just want
movies shown in American cinemas, they're technically produced in the US.
Yeah.
One, in the sense
they're
that we're
just
talking
shot
about
in
American
other
companies,
areas
and two,
because
in the
they
sense
want
that script writing, pre-production,
those
casting,
specific
and some editing often all actually physically
landscapes
happen in the US. At the same time, though, you know, however, the actual filming, that is increasingly taking place abroad. And Trump is actually correct in saying that other countries are offering all sorts of incentives to draw our filmmakers and studios away from the United States. With these incentives normally coming in the form of tax breaks, which,
well, I'm sure that's
with
one
things just
thing.
getting more expensive in the US, have led to a lot of production taking place in the UK, Australia, New Zealand, and a few places throughout Europe. And so as a result, thousands of middle-class film workers in the US have reportedly lost work. In fact, according to the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, for example, roughly 18,000 full-time jobs have been eliminated in just the past
giving
3
me a
years,
headache.
primarily in California. And actually, a very notable thing is that with that, California Governor Gavin Newsom has already proposed a massive tax credit to
exactly. That's why it was giving me a headache. He's going about it backwards. It's like, if you want to compete with the other countries that are giving tax breaks to filmmakers, why don't you just give tax breaks to filmmakers? Occam's razor. The simplest solution is usually the correct solution.
Bring production back to Hollywood. But that is notably an incentive, whereas Trump's proposal, in addition to being super unclear, is an attack. And so among other things, you have people going, you know, would it apply to US companies shooting films abroad? What if only part of it was shot overseas? And would it apply to movies on streaming services and theaters, or both? Plus, I mean, what about post-production visual effects work? I mean, a single movie can sometimes involve several specialized firms operating all around the world. So we'll have to wait to see, you know, what the administration comes up with, and if they carry
this just
through,
seems
and if it's just gonna be be a mess or
ridiculous
not. But then the
and
final
hard
thing that I'll
to
touch on for this
enforce.
segment is that Trump posted on Truth Social that he has directed the government to reopen and expand Alcatraz, right, which if you don't know
Really?
is just a notorious U.S. prison that's been closed for more than 60 years now. With Trump specifically saying the site, which is on a small island offshore San Francisco, would be used to house America's most ruthless and violent offenders. So of course with that you have people saying, one, well, will due process be involved here? And two, why are you doing this? It does not make sense. Right? Because reportedly Alcatraz is impractical and expensive, and it was closed in 1963 for multiple reasons, including decaying infrastructure and the high cost of repairing and even just supplying a facility that could only be accessed by boat. But hey, just because it doesn't make any sense doesn't mean that it's not gonna happen. For now, we'll have to wait to see. But then next,
He's doing it because he wants this place to stick his political prisoners that it is incredibly hard for them to escape from. That's why he's doing it. I'm going to make hot dogs and I'll be right back. Where are you having such weird meals today? Like, it's not that hot dogs are a weird meal, but hot dogs are something weird to follow up a chocolate and Nutella omelet with. I hope I don't puke all over you guys on stream. No, I'm kidding. I have a stomach of steel. It's in my name after all. I'll be right back. They take like 3 minutes. All right. I'm back, chat. Let's figure out what other stupid things Phil is going to say today. Or, like, I'm actually so annoyed at the way he reported on the Shiloh Hendricks stuff. It's kind of fucked up. Let's see what the. What it's at right now. 7:17. I don't trust anything he says anymore. Because, like, for all we know, it could have been at 700. So this was 23 hours ago. But for all we know, it could have been at 700 by the time he posted this. Or 680. And he just decided to choose 666. And I don't trust Phil anymore because he didn't report on the most important thing regarding the Shiloh Hendricks, the Shiloh Hendricks crowdfunding, is that so many people said it was in response to the Carmelo Anthony crowdfunding. Just leaving that out that's like the most significant thing about it, in my opinion. That is the whole reason it is happening. If the Carmelo Anthony didn't get 500K for stabbing a white dude in the chest, there wouldn't be people giving her 700K for calling a little black dude the N-word. Like, it's just so disingenuous that he didn't mention that at all.
Next up today, we have to talk about how Lady Gaga not only performed a free show at Copacabana Beach in Rio de Janeiro with an estimated 2.5 million people going, which was already huge news.
This
because it
type
beat the
of
record for the highest
double
attendance for a concert.
standard and hypocrisy is exactly why things keep getting worse and aren't getting better. Damn it, Phil. I lost so much respect for you today. This is the first Phil video I have ever downvoted. I'm just gonna post it. Explicitly. I can't type. All right, there we go. Gotta let him know. He says he wants to hear from us in the comments. Well, he heard from me in the comments.
Female artist, but
Let's go back to this beginning. This Lady Gaga thing sounds insane.
Today, we have to talk about how Lady Gaga not only
I'm gonna stick wieners into my mouth.
at Copacabana Beach in Rio de Janeiro with an estimated 2.5 million people going, which was already huge news because it beat the record for the highest attendance for a concert by a female artist. But there was also a bombing attack that was thwarted. Because while the show it went on as scheduled, in the hours before it, at least 2 people were arrested for planning to carry out a major attack, mainly aiming to target children and the LGBTQ plus community. With the Brazilian authorities releasing a statement yesterday saying a group has been recruiting participants, including teenagers, to carry out integrated attacks using improvised explosives.
She's
and
pretty
Molotov
popular
cocktails.
with the LGBT
And a man who was identified
community.
as the leader of the group was arrested for illegal possession of a firearm, and a teenager was also arrested for storing child pornography. With this group having allegedly been operating and spreading hate speech online, and the goal is said to have been to promote the radicalization of adolescents, the dissemination of hate crimes, self-harm, pedophilia, and violent content as a form of belonging and a challenge among young people. With this, we saw
That's
15
insane.
search warrants being served against 9 people in cities throughout Brazil. With some reports also saying that members of the group had posed as little monsters, right, Lady Gaga fans, online to lure in young people. And all of this is, even though police said that this was a major operation, because the concert still happened, you had the Associated Press reporting that some have questioned the validity of the threat. With many pointing to how last year, after authorities foiled a terrorist plot at a Taylor Swift show in Austria, her shows there were still canceled for safety reasons. So here you had police saying,
Well, those
they
are
didn't
two
publicly
different
share this
cities.
information about the plot before the show to avoid panic and preventing information from being distorted.
Those
And
are
that is,
not
you had Lady
cities,
Gaga's
but, well,
team
yes,
saying they weren't
but
even
those are two
alerted to the
different
threats ahead of
countries.
time, with a spokesperson telling the
Yeah.
Hollywood Reporter. We learned about this alleged threat via media reports this morning. Prior to and during the show, there were no known safety concerns.
Two different countries, two different artists, and if they didn't even know, how could they cancel it?
Nor any communication from the police or authorities to Lady Gaga regarding any potential risks. And adding, her team worked closely with law enforcement throughout the planning and execution of the concert, and all parties were confident in the safety measures in place. Which, on the note of those safety measures, reportedly include strong security presence at the event and over 5,000 military and police officers at the beach. And so all in all, a very scary sounding situation, but luckily, the news today is that nothing ended up happening and we just had a record broken. And then, I got more news for you in just a moment, but very quickly, quick self-promo. If you haven't gotten in on it yet,
Fuck your
definitely get
promo.
it. But then, next up today, shifting gears to a very different kind of news. It's really drama news. Dr. Lupo, one of the most popular streamers out there, is getting a ton
I've
of
heard
shit
a bit
right now
about this.
after he was
Let's see
caught
if you
cheating
tell
in
any
a
lies
chess
about
tournament
this,
last week
Phil.
called PogChamps, which, if you've never heard, is an event that's put on by chess.com, and it's usually seen as kind of a win-win for everyone. For chess.com, it helps expose a ton of people to chess that otherwise might not have considered it. And for the streamers, it's a chance to show themselves off to new audiences and possibly win a decent prize in a relatively low commitment environment. Because it's not like these people are grandmasters that have poured their life into chess, and they're often extremely low rated. And Lupo, he fits that mold perfectly. He's got like a 600 elo, and during the event, he was playing against Wolfie VGC, who's about 1300. So you're talking about a massive difference in skill, and in a game like chess, it usually means that Lupo would never actually beat Wolfie, short of Wolfie really, really fucking up. But that's
I'm probably like 600, if that. I used to be really good at chess when I was younger, but I have not played at all. I played in like middle school, elementary school. I don't remember. And I can still beat people that don't play chess pretty easily, but I can't beat anyone that does play chess at all. Because the thing about chess is it's a solved game. There is always a best possible move you can make based off the situation, because there's only so many possible moves. unlike poker, where there's a bunch of random chance involved, there is always one best possible move statistically that you can make, or several near optimal moves, even if there isn't one clear best possible, because there are multiple strategies to win. But there's always at least one or two best possible moves. And I guess that's how this guy got busted for cheating, is he just did a bunch of the best possible moves in a row.
It's also not how things started, and during the game, Lupo blundered a queen near the start. You know, it
Yeah.
looked like this was going to be an easy
He
win
made a
until
pretty
Lupo just
big
managed
mess
to play
up.
out of his damn mind and win the game. But then people almost immediately suspicious of the situation. In fact, so much so that Lupo eventually admitted to cheating and pulled out of the tournament. Writing on X, had a ton of fun playing, but have decided to drop out of the main event to help maintain competitive integrity for those involved, as well as attorney organizations.
There's just so much random hate. Ludwig went on Dr. Lupo. Oh god. So Schlatt loses a chess game in 2 moves. I kind of want to see that, to be honest. I'm just really distracted by that. But I want to see the actual move he did, which was okay. Here we go. No, they went to the begin. They went to the end. I want to see the part where he messed up. They aren't even going to show the chess play. Dude, I hate YouTube. Just Google in general, where it doesn't show you what you actually want. It just shows you something else. Okay, this one I think does the whole thing, because this is the original video that people have been commenting on and watching and reacting to. No, he's just doing a recreation. He's not showing actual stuff from the event. I saw a video that had stuff from the event. I don't know which video it was that I saw. It's not popping up. I hate that it does this stuff too. I'm not... If I wanted to watch this stuff, I would have searched for it, or I would be on my homepage. I want stuff related to what I search. YouTube is going so far downhill. Is this the one? No. Oh, this is the one. We saw the Aspen Gold one. Of course we did. All right. There's a spot. Yeah, okay, at the beginning here. We're like right around here.
Effectively use a cheat engine. And so is that crap?
All right.
We're
So
just
it's
like-
hard to see his moves.
Boom, 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 boom.
But he makes a really bad move here.
just-
So his queen is down here in the white square that's going to be right here. So you have a white square, a black square. Well, it's green, but whatever. White square, green square, white square, green square, white square, green square. And if you don't know anything about these pieces, right? The pawns are the weakest piece. They can only move forward and they can only attack diagonally. So this pawn right there is keeping that knight safe from being taken. Bishops can only move on diagonals. So this is his white bishop and this is his black bishop. They will always only ever be on that color square. You get one of each. The rook, it can only move in straight lines. The queen is the most powerful piece in the game because it can move in diagonals and in straight lines. It is a rook and a bishop combined. The knights are probably the second or third most powerful piece. Arguably, rooks are pretty strong because they can castle your king, which is what happened over here, where you can move this over and then that will like jump the king, and it makes it pretty well protected in the corner. But Knights are incredibly powerful in that they attack in an L shape. So this knight is capable of targeting this knight. And there's currently nothing protecting that knight, right? The bishop can't reach it. The queen is directly behind it, but it can't go through his black pawn. So there's nothing protecting that knight. So he sees the knight seems to apparently be pretty free to take.
Just like boom, 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 boom. I guess it's time. Oh no.
So what you don't happen to see, because it's behind Asmongold, is he gives up his queen because his knight was there blocking the line of sight to his queen, and the bishop goes and eats his queen. Even if he ends up taking the bishop with his rook, I don't know if he can do that because of the space that's there, and you might not want to do that because then you're risking your king. If you can, it would be better to take it with the other rook. But that's a really good trade for the other player. To sacrifice a bishop for a queen, that's huge.
Wait, did he just lose the... Wait, isn't that the good one?
There we go. Yeah. So yes, that's the good one. So now you can see the whole thing. Okay, his bishop is still back there in the back line. So his rook can't take it. If he wants to punish that bishop, he needs to do it with the rook. But I'm not sure if that's even optimal, because like I said, I don't play chess anymore. But the big problem he makes here is he goes and he loses his best piece in a really dumb bait, I feel like. In my opinion, the guy put the knight out there on purpose, hoping that he would bait him into doing the knight. But to be honest, what would I have done? I would have moved the bishop there to pressure the knight. One, getting the bishop out of the back line. Two, keeping that safe so that you can't use the queen. Or potentially free up the queen so that then you can use move the queen up one so you can use it to attack. You don't want to go over because then his bishop can hit the queen there, right? So the two things I would have theoretically done here, just looking at the board state currently, three options really. Like I said, I don't play the game anymore. There's four options. I don't play the game anymore, but you have four moves that are way better that I can see just looking at this. One, move the queen there. Two, move the bishop there. Three, move the rook there. The pawn there. Or four, move the pawn there. That's probably the worst move of all the ones I said, because you want to keep that loaded up. If you move the pawn up there, then he can move his bishop there once he finds a way to get rid of that pawn, and then move the bishop there and threaten the king, especially if he still has his rook or his queen, which he does have both, I think, on the other team. Then he can use that so the king can't take the bishop back, and it pretty much has to move into that corner. And then if you have the queen there, you can move the bishop back and he's in trouble. But there's all kinds of things that will happen there, because then if you move the bishop back there, move the queen in there, that's game, because the king's just fucked. But like I said, there's so many different ways that he could have. There's four moves he could have done that would have been way better than this, and even one of them was kind of not good. But just based off my limited knowledge of not having played forever, there's three moves I would have done instead of this. Of course, we have hindsight, but I protect my queen pretty zealously. It's the strongest piece in the game. As Asmongold said in his caveman brain, that's the good one, right?
Wait, isn't that the good one? Wait, so he moved this one. Well, why wouldn't he just move this one up? He should have moved this one.
No, don't move that one. That's, like I said, that's the worst of the 4 moves I mentioned. But I would just leave that there. Because if he takes the knight, then you take it with the... Oh, maybe. I don't know. Because then the king's open. Honestly, I would move the queen there. Well, even if he takes... No, if he takes the knight, you take it... Oh, but then you can't because knight to there. Yeah. I don't know. This is hard. Again, he's going against like a 1300 ranked chess player. So this is actually a very, very fucked up board state. I don't like this at all. Black is really aggressive here. But even the move that Asmid suggested is absolutely better than the dumbass move Lupo made.
What the hell is he thinking? Yeah, duh. Like, what the fuck? Like, why would you do that? Yeah, I don't get, like, don't lose easy. Yeah, he's cosplaying your beard. Yeah, I mean, fuck. You could do like 5 other fucking things. Like,
yeah,
I don't even play
4
chess, and
at
I feel
least
like
that
was
counted.
a better idea. But anyway,
yeah, it was a better
we're
idea.
not gonna backseat
I said it
too
still
much.
wasn't a great
But
idea,
anyway,
but it
he
was a
wasn't
better
thinking that was the
idea.
problem. Well,
I
why would he need
backseated
to
plenty.
think? He had the machine to do it for him. So anyway, let's go ahead. We'll look at the rest of this, okay?
Yeah.
Boom, 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 boom.
So
boom,
watch.
I guess.
Oh,
I guess
he
it's
scrolls
time.
back up.
Oh, no.
Ooh, you lost your big piece. That's the elite
But yeah,
piece.
he knows he messed up.
Ooh, that's bad.
So that's what happened. And then after this, the guy played a literally perfect game and came back to win it. So people were like, that's kind of sus. That's kind of sus. At first he denied it, but then he came out and admitted it.
Organizers. Having the mainstream up on my left monitor over the course of the day today,
But not
with
actually
other
admitted
games
it.
being played, led to me getting move information I shouldn't have had for a game. That's on me and no one else. That's my fuck up. I apologize. You'd think I would know better, but here we are. With chess.com also moving in and closing his account for a fair play violation, meaning that he was banned for cheating. But that is not where this story ends, because this was followed up by another creator by the name of Ludwig asking Lupo, streets are saying it was an engine. Are the streets keeping it 99? But then Ludwig later admitting that the streets were grandmaster level players who spoke to him that accused Lupo of using a computer to help him. But saying that, this wasn't, oh, I happened to have this thing open and I couldn't help but look at it, but rather far more involved. There we saw Lupo deny that, and he even joked that he was helped by anal beads, which is a reference to another cheating scandal. It was where Hans...
Yeah, that was a crazy one. Yeah, vibrating anal beads. That's how the guy cheated. I don't know how they found this out, by the way. I don't remember. But I do remember hearing about this story. The guy it was doing like Morse code. I don't know if that's exactly what it was, but based off of how it was vibrating, it was telling him which moves to do, which is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Like, how do people go so far to cheat as to shove vibrating anal beads up their ass and keep them up there through an entire chess tournament? It's hilarious, but also disturbing and sad at the same time. So one of the things that Dr. Lupo claimed originally was that he got the moves from his chat, which in general, I think is just bad faith to begin with, even if that is true. But the fact that he was trying to blame it on his chat and it turned out to be false because like people went back and the moves weren't in his chat, it's just insane.
And even was accused of cheating, and people joked that it was a vibrating sex toy that helped him communicate what moves to play. But either way, you had Lupo going on to say, believe me or not, I played what I played, pulled from chat though, couldn't stop looking, which as I said, I know better. People, and I largely mean chess people, this isn't some light shit to them. They take this game serious. And many just were not buying his excuse. Because first off, Lupo did like 25 plus perfect moves in a row, which is that.
So, two things I have to say about it. Three things. One, cheating is just wrong, right? Now, if you want to put like cheat modes in GTA single player or something, go for it. I can't tell you how many Rhino tanks I spawned into GTA 3 just to fuck around. I also had cheats that gave everyone in the game guns and made people randomly attack each other. So I was just driving around in my Rhino tank while there were grannies that were still holding their shopping bags shooting AKs at each other. And that was so much fun. My parents didn't let me have the game by that way. I downloaded it off a shady website with a crack using a torrent. But I had so much fun at GTA 3. After I beat it, of course. You know, I beat the story and then I kept playing and I had a save I would load into and just turn all the cheats on. But one, cheating in multiplayer games is just generally bad. Cheating in any kind of tournament is especially bad. Cheating in a tournament where $100,000 on the line is ridiculously bad. And cheating in a streamer tournament where like people's reputations are at stake is absolutely insane. So I have a big issue with this. Even though I'm not super big into the chess community, just in general, this is way worse than XQC cheating at Fall Guys.
At that level of chess, it's unreal and it doesn't happen outside of using a computer engine. In fact, it is so out of the ordinary that it stands out like a sore thumb with, for example, Gotham Chess, the largest chess channel on YouTube, putting it this way.
Beginners are very tempted to do stuff like this. Please don't. And the lesson here is just don't do it. Don't do any form of this because it's quite obvious, especially for beginners.
His video pointed to Lupo likely cheating across multiple games. And the moves were so obvious that few were buying Lupo's excuse that he just looked at the chat, and you had Ludwig saying in a video,
he claims that he had the game open, like the stream open.
What happened to his hair? What the fuck is that? Ludwig, what happened to your hair? Like, look at that hair. What happened to it? He's just always had incredible hair. What the fuck is that? Even when I had a buzz cut, it looked better than that. Back when I still had like a hairline.
And was reading the stream chat. But
military
part of
haircut?
what you're able to do when you look through somebody's game
is he in the
judge
military
how
though?
quickly they are making their moves. And the time it was taking him to make his moves, a lot of the time when he's making the best move was quicker even than Twitch chat would be able to input this. Not only that, but Twitch chat also just wasn't saying this.
Bernie then went on to add that on top of this, Twitch
You can
chat
go
was
back
never
and
giving out
watch
the
a
engine's
stream
best
to
move,
see
because
what the
I would
chat
expect
said,
it was
at least
mostly
for like the
chess
first
fans
month
watching
or
the
so
game
or
and throwing
something
out
like
what
that, or
they
a couple
think would be the
weeks.
best move. And that's usually done in the form of an annotation. And the annotation, it's not hard to understand once you know it, but Ludwig doesn't believe that Lupo would be able to read it super quickly, considering
And sometimes forever, because plenty of streamers have their chat in the VOD these days.
Like half of Ludwig's rank, and Ludwig still needs to decipher it in his head. Within all of that, bringing us to Friday, and Lupo finally admitted that he cheated with an engine writing. I screwed up big time. The internet has been right basically since the beginning, and it's taken me multiple waves of self-reflection and internal fighting to get to the point where I can fully
why
admit fault without
even
holding
cheat
back.
in the
I've lied
first
to the
place?
internet
It's just
repeatedly.
so
I cheated
dumb.
and betrayed the trust of countless people that believed in me. Viewers, family, friends, everyone. It's been a big part of my life being really good at games. When I suddenly wasn't good enough, I lied. People kept asking me why I did it. I think I did it for a false sense of self-validation, to convince myself that I could win when clearly I shouldn't have. You know, he said a lot more in the tweet, but that's essentially it. Though I will say, what's very interesting is that Gotham Chess kind of assumed that this was the reason that Lupo cheated.
Some people do this stuff
1 second. Responding to a Discord message. Almost done. Okay, I'm done.
like the simul, like this.
This was the reason that Lupo cheated.
Some people do this stuff like the simul, like this, because chess has
It's
this
an ego
really
thing.
weird way of just getting like deep inside your soul, and you just feel not good enough or not intelligent enough or not, it like really attacks your psyche in many ways.
All in all, that is where we are, though I will say, even after the admission, many are still very, very upset about the situation. And that includes very big streamers who weren't involved in the tournament at all, including Asmongold and XQC, who actually came out saying that Lupo should be banned from Twitch over the cheating scandal. Right in that, because it is technically covered under Twitch's terms of service, so it is in the realm of possibility. Then, next up today,
It's kind of funny that XQC said that, considering that XQC cheated during a Twitch Rivals. Let's see. Did XQC, I can't type, get banned for cheating? Okay, never mind. He did get banned. Yeah, so that's fair then. 6 months. Oh, that was the Twitch Rivals events. It didn't say how long his Twitch ban was, but he was banned for Twitch Rivals events for 6 months and had to forfeit his prize money, which is absolutely fair. So yeah, if anyone knows about cheating on Twitch, it's XQC.
in some interesting news, I'd like you to meet Rand Laycock. You see, he's the conductor of a 100-piece orchestra in Parma, Ohio, and just before his 60th birthday 11 years ago, he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. And at first, it was just a twitch in his thumb, but over the years, his symptoms have slowly escalated. With Rand saying about 8 years in, I started experiencing more tremor in my right hand. This was daily and seemed to get worse if I was anxious or nervous. The tremor would really start to be pronounced if I had a deadline coming up for something with the orchestra. And he also started experiencing dyskinesias, which are involuntary movements that pop up as a complication of long-term use of Parkinson's medication. So eventually, Rand wasn't able to control his symptoms with just medication. That is where he learned about deep brain stimulation, or DBS, from a neurologist at the Cleveland Clinic.
This stuff is actually insane.
Brain stimulation was described to Rand was like a pacemaker for the brain, where the device would be planted in his brain to deliver electrical currents to specific parts of the brain.
I saw
movement, and those currents would help
a demonstration where a guy with really bad Parkinson's couldn't even lift up a glass of water to drink. Like I think it was like a foam cup, and he'd either like crush it or spill it. And once they turn on the electrical stimulant, then he was still kind of shaky and jerky, but he was able to actually drink the water without spilling it. It was insane.
Help control the abnormal brain signals that cause Parkinson's symptoms. And so in May of 2024, Rand went forward with DBS. He went under for the surgeries and had the device implanted in his brain, with it then later being activated and set up with a programmer who helped fine-tune the setting in Rand's follow-up appointments. But then for nearly a year, Rand saw success with DBS, and then he heard about a new advancement that could help him even further, called ADBS, or Adaptive Deep Brain Stimulation, with Rand's neurologist saying traditional DBS gives the same stimulation to the brain 24 hours a day. What makes ADBS different is it can adapt and fine-tune the stimulation in real time. By tracking a certain frequency in the brain, it can increase or decrease the stimulation as needed to better control symptoms. And for Rand, the conductor, that is especially helpful, and according to his programmer, it reduces the risk of him experiencing tremors during a performance if his medication wears off. And as Rand has used ADBS over the last couple of months, his symptoms have continued to improve, with Rand saying, "My tremor is almost all gone except if I experience extreme anxiety or stress, and my dyskinesia is pretty well under control." And now, because of all that, Rand is able to move forward into his 47th year of conducting. And this is both he and his neurologist are encouraging people with Parkinson's to ask about deep brain stimulation, with Rand saying, "I know the thought of brain surgery can be intimidating, but it's a life-changing procedure that allows you to become your own self again." But that, my friends, is the end of
very
your Monday
interesting
evening, Tuesday morning dive into the news.
that his
Thank you for
Parkinson's
watching. I
is
love yo faces, and I'll see you
triggered
right back here
by
tomorrow.
anxiety or stress. I wonder if people were to do a little more soul searching and combating those things in their own mind, if there would be so many illnesses. DBS water. I want to see if I can find the what? Oh, because Dragon Ball Super. I got it. It's stimulation, not simulation. Is this the one I saw? No. A lot of this is just random shit. I don't know where to see. I wish I could find the video that showed what I'm talking about, but that was years ago now. Oh, is this it? 7 years ago. Let's go see if we can just click through it. Oh, why am I sneezing like crazy today? I'm almost out of paper towels. It's all up in my beard. Not nasty. They just come out of nowhere too. All right. No, this I don't. Is this the one? No, this isn't the one I saw. I don't know where the video I saw is, but it was actually insane. I wish I could find it. Oh well. Are we gonna watch anything else? What is this? No, I don't know if I feel about this. The only reason I was kind of interested on this is because this guy's name is Mike from PA. And honestly, it just kind of makes me sad because the guy literally calls for violence against Ethan Klein. And I don't think he's even part of Hassan's satellite group. He's just like a nobody that rides Hassan's dick, as far as I'm aware. And it's kind of sad that Hassan and his group of intellectually bankrupt degenerates are allowed to just openly support terrorism and put hits out on people and ruin people's lives, and nothing ever happens to them. But if someone says something even relatively questionable, or that might not even be questionable but happens to go against Hassan and his cronies, they just get slapped with a ban immediately. Like Tectone recently got banned for calling Frogan fat, but Frogan didn't get banned for saying she hopes all soldiers get PTSD. That's fucking terrible. The only reason Tectone said that is because his dad's a soldier. Now, don't get me wrong, it wasn't right for Tectone to say that either. But if you look, I mean, it's okay to say that, I guess, because it's just kind of admitting the truth, acknowledging the truth. But the way he said it, the way he was going on about it, was a little over the top, to say the least. It was more than just mere commentary. It was to the point where it was like, all right, this is a little bit over the line. So I think Tectone deserved his ban, but I also think that Frogan deserved a much bigger ban for what she said. All right. So at this point, I'm kind of tired, even though it's really early. I've been up for a very long time already doing cleaning around the house. I recorded a video, but I haven't edited it and uploaded it yet. I recorded a video of me making the chocolate chip omelet. What is that? Oh, it's just Steam being weird. I see. But I do want to play some games. One sec. Let me switch scenes while we log in. I want to do some more WoW before I fall asleep. I almost died over the weekend. I was playing off stream on my Warlock, and the game started freezing while I was in the middle of fighting a really strong rare spawn. I was just barely beating it. It was close to begin with, and then my game started super lagging out and froze up, and I thought I was gonna die. Fortunately, there was another player that walked up right at that time and totally saved my ass. Otherwise, I would have lost my Warlock, and I would have been so upset losing my Warlock because the game froze. It's one thing if I lose my Warlock because I pull too much or fight something too big because I think I'm invincible with my Voidwalker. It's another thing entirely if I lose my Warlock because the game fucks up and I can't move or attack or use abilities or my health potion. Alright, we are past the docs part of the login. Alright, let's go ahead and get started. I'm already kind of exhausted. It's been a long day, so I don't know how long I'm going to go, especially because I don't want to get tired and die because I'm tired. But I do want to do at least a little bit of gaming, which means I need to change all of the categories. If I can type. I also leveled a shaman over the weekend. I'm enjoying shaman gameplay, to be honest, more than I thought I would. But I also don't want... The shaman's already higher than my hunter, which is kind of insane. I don't want the shaman to get higher than my warlock, though. So let's see. I would be mad if I'd be mad if any of these characters died, to be honest. I'm at the point where I'm invested in these characters, you know? Dying before level 10 is annoying. But after you get to like 15, it starts to get real annoying to die, because then you're like, bro, that was so much more time. It's pretty easy to get to level 10. You can do that in like one day. But after level 10, the grind gets kind of insane. Is the game already laggy? I swear I heard the audio dropping out.